today on Live with Kat. We're doing the Bidermans. We're going to further that discussion about Biderman and his chart of coercion. And this one is involving the overindulgence, the occasional overindulgence, in order to uh, gain what they want based on it being an abusive tactic. And if we look up the word overindulgence, for example, we may find that it is an excessive uh, gratitude of a person's wishes. And so when we talk about all the different tactics that are used in Biderman's work, we're talking about the isolation, monopolization of perception, humiliation and degradation, threats, exhaustion, occasional indulgences, demonstrating omnipotence, and forcing trivial demands. And so we look at those and we understand that all of that is to gain power and control over you. And so is this one in overindulging. Now, this overindulging is kind of complicated, I think, in some ways, because they they sometimes call these kinds of relationships this push and pull. And I think that's an important thing for you guys to see is that abusers are pushing people and pulling people. They're trying to manipulate them to be who they want them to be or do the bidding that they want them to do. So they may overindulge them in order to get them on their side, in order to manipulate them, whether it's for um, money or status in a relationship, or to know that they have that connection with you during love bombing, whether it's a parent who wants to have control over their children so that they can harm the other parent in court cases and in um, different activities that they may want power and control over many people. So they look to overindulge people. Grandparents do this as well with a grandchild. And so you can have it in businesses, you can have it anywhere. But the idea that I want you to get is that this idea of overindulging and occasionally overindulging something is telling you um, that there is uh, this want for you to accept that indulgement and think that they and for them to think they aren't losing you, which is that push pull kind of attitude. And if we go to the words of Chris Jammy, which I found this week, an overindulgence of anything, even something as pure as water, can intoxicate. And so, if you think about that, if you have a wound or your children have a wound that is known to people, then abusive people will intoxicate them with what their personal are, which is what that definition is talking about. So I want you to think about this when you're thinking about abuse. You know, I've seen a grandchild um, been put down for being uh, outgoing and personable and wanting to help other people. And a grandparent taking task with that because they don't want them to shine. They want another grandchild to shine. So they may overindulge one grandchild so that the other grandchild sees that they aren't accepted as they are. It's very coercive in this. Um, Love bombing, the same kind of thing with a new love that comes into your life. You want to get to know them, you want to have that connection, and abusers know how to mock that connection, how to get you to believe that um, they're the person to fulfill everything you've ever wanted. Now, that's at the beginning. But see, if you look at the cycle of abuse in its tactics, the honeymoon phase is that overindulgence. Whether they're trying to get you back because they've blown up, or whether they are trying to make you suffer, which is a build up to something, which you can find in court cases and different things that happen with people. Um, you can have a parent who overindulges a child to get information about the other parent so that they know how to uh, proceed in court cases. That's why we need to talk about this stuff, is because this is what they do. These tactics are there. Um, you may have a lover who is seems to be trustworthy, seems to be just somebody that is a good person. And in the back of their mind, they are coming after you because you have money or you have status or you have something that they want to exploit. So I want you to think about this, because if I look at the words of Tony Robbins, he's saying love is not a business. It's not a transaction. It's not an exchange for something you get for doing something. It's not a trade. It's a gift. Abusers are not about gifts in the sense of it being just from the heart. There's that push pull in there, and there is a variance with this, along with all of the variances, meaning that it might be very mild and it might be all the way up here. But this does not mean that you should put up with something if it's not making you comfortable and if it feels like it's abusive. I think that when we see it, we have to call it out. I was talking to a person that I chat with a lot about these kinds of things, and we were talking about this idea that neglect is neglect and abuse is abuse. Well, I'm like, isn't neglect abuse? Because it is. And I think we have to have an idea about what abuse looks like so that we can see it in the world and understand what that is, and if we want to be a part of that or not. We should at least be looking at that, because I wrote a post this week that was, these abuse tactics are used to coercively control children and others. And if they do them occasionally, that doesn't mean that they're not abusive. That's abusive. That's an abusive act. And I think it's important for us to see that, because a lot of times you'll see people go, well, they're a nice person, but they're over here pitting one child against another, or they're over here trying to take advantage of somebody that's a good parent and they didn't really step up as a parent, but now that they're going through a separation, they want to harm the other parent because they're mad. We have to look at it for what it is. Not, I think too much gets lost in language when we don't call it out for what it is. Even ourselves if we do something that could be considered abusive. We need to know, oh, no, I never thought about it that way. You know, I don't want one child to feel less than another child. That is never my drive or anybody else. So I want you to give that some thought about this overindulgent, this occasional overindulgence. What is it about? What is the MO of the person that you suspect is abusive? What are they trying to do? What's the push and the pull? What's their gain from doing this nicety? You know, they may come to you and say, you know, I just want us to work together and parent our children. And behind your back, they're doing all of this other stuff. And I think we have to get aware of that as a society. We can't change things that we don't acknowledge and see. So I hope this gives you some idea and some thought about what an occasional overindulgence is. It's not just somebody trying to be nice when they've been abusive in other realms. It's not them trying to make up. These abusive people use these tactics to gain power and control over you. And if coercive control is the underpinning of all abuse, then that's what we should be talking about. An occasional overindulgence to gain power and control over you, which is some of what Tony Robbins is talking about when he says it's not a transaction, it's not a business thing. It's not you get something for doing something. It's not a trade. Love is a gift. And this is not a gift if it's bearing this out as to being an occasional overindulgence to gain power and control over you through coercive and controlling tactics. I hope this helps. Take care.